Hi friends, welcome back to Ajay Automates channel. I hope you are all doing good. So in this video, let's quickly review the top 30 scenario-based interview questions from Selenium Python and PyTest framework. Okay, so these questions are gathered from almost 20 to 25 real-time interviews, which was recently attended by our candidates. Okay, so out of 5 interviews, these questions were asked almost in 3 interviews. So there are high chances these questions might be asked in upcoming interviews you are attending. Okay, and for viewers who are new to Ajay Automates, please do subscribe my channel. These questions will be really useful for your upcoming interviews. Okay, so let's quickly start. The first question is explain the core components of your framework, that is PyTest framework in this case. So we can explain like we are using a hybrid automation framework and we follow page object model design pattern, and you have to definitely talk about fixtures here. Okay, and we use fixtures for setup and tear down code, for maintaining setup and tear down code, and also for parameterizing our test cases we use fixtures, and we use markers for grouping our tests like smoke, regression and all. So main thing is you have to talk about test data management. We are using open PyXL library for maintaining test data. So for supporting Excel with our framework, we need to import some library, right? So in Selenium and Java, we use this Apache Py library. Here we use open PyXL library. Okay, and for reporting we use Allure reporting, and definitely talk about your CI/CD pipeline. Either you might use Jenkins or Bamboo. Also talk about Git. We are using Git for version controlling platform, and we are launching browsers using WebDriver manager. For parallel execution we use PyText XDist plugin. Okay, and we are also capturing logs by using Python's inbuilt logging module. Okay, also we have configuration files like config.ini or .yaml files, which are used to store environment specific variables or URLs, credentials, etc. So talk about all these components, okay, for like 1 minute. 1 minute is more than enough for explaining your automation framework in the interview. Okay, do not forget to talk about fixtures, markers, or test data management, reporting, Git, and CI/CD pipeline. Okay, those are very important. So let's see the next question. Explain the folder structure in your framework. Okay, so this is also asked in many interviews. So you are using a PyTest framework, right? They are asking about the folder structure we are maintaining. So we have test folder which contains all our automation test scripts, and pages contain all the reusable methods, page objects, and test data contains the code to, or contains the file to store Excel for your data driven testing, and utils folder helps to handle the logs, reading Excel data and taking screenshots. So you can talk like we have an utils folder, we are maintaining the code related to reading Excel, generating test data and logging code. Okay, and we also have a Conftest.py file which contains the fixtures and hooks related code that can be accessed across all my Selenium tests. So this is a common file which is used to store your fixtures or hooks which can be accessed by all your Selenium test files. Also we have pytest.ini file, which is a configuration file for defining markers, or if you have any command line option you can define it here. And finally we have reporting folder where all our test reports are stored. Okay, these are some of the folders available in your PyTest framework. Okay, so this is also a really important question. Have you used any AI tools during automation? As you know, AI is coming up a lot. Okay, so we have to definitely learn about any AI tools. So in this case I am talking about, I have worked with Copilot. So Copilot is most commonly used in automation for auto test script generation. Also there are other tools like Cursor AI and all. So try to learn Copilot or integrate Copilot in your editor and try to generate some test scripts. Okay, it will definitely save you some time. This is a very important interview question now. Can you explain one complex test case you have automated in your automation career? So I am seeing this question is being asked in many interviews now. Okay, so when we say we are an automation engineer for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, you might have come across many complex cases. Okay, so just make a note of it. So I will explain like I have automated end-to-end flow of my application, which covers multiple play pages. I have automated scenarios from UI to API integration cases. Also handling dynamic web elements was challenging. So I have created localization test suite which covers automation test scripts for almost 20 to 30 regions. I have created page load test suite. So calendar selection modules was a complex test case I automated. So these are some of the test cases you can explain here. Okay, this is really important. When we say we are an experienced automation engineer, there might be multiple cases, complex test cases you have automated. So make a note of it. Okay. So the next question is, how do you control the order in which test cases to be executed? If you remember in Selenium Java TestNG we use priority, right? Here we need to use the PyTest ordering plugin to define or to control the order in which test cases to be executed. Okay, so by default your PyTest runs alphabetically. By using PyTest ordering plugin, we can control the order in which our test cases to be executed. Okay, so let's see the next question. You have smoke and regression test suites. How would you run only smoke tests or regression tests selectively using PyTest? So if you remember, using Selenium and Java, we use TestNG grouping. In this case, in PyTest framework, we can make the use of markers. Okay, so using at pytest.mark.smoke or whatever test suite you are running, define those names in your test Selenium test. Also during runtime, you can use the command like whatever test suite you want to run, provide pytest -m and using smoke. Or if you want to run regression test suite, provide pytest -n and regression. Also define your markers in the pytest.ini file. Okay, this is how we can run specific test suites in PyTest. So let's see the next question. What are the necessary softwares, tools or libraries you are using to run your Selenium Python automation? Okay, this is also an important question. Okay, so we need Python because it's a core programming language, and preferred editors are PyCharm, VS Code or Sublime Text. Also we need libraries like WebDriver, Manager, Selenium WebDriver, and we need to configure PyTest framework as well. For reporting, we are using Allure or HTML test runner, or either you can use Python's built-in reporting. Okay, and we need Git for version control, Jenkins or Bamboo for CI/CD automation. For test data handling, you can either use Pandas or OpenPyXL libraries. Okay, these are some of the softwares or libraries we need to perform Python automation using PyTest framework. What is the purpose of fixtures in PyTest? So we already saw this, but this question is we explain in the automation framework. So when they ask individually, you have to talk about what scenarios you are using by fixtures, etc. Okay, so we use fixtures to handle browser setup and tear down code for launching browser, for maximizing browser, for closing browser. We can define in the fixtures. Okay, so it helps us write clean reusable code by separating the setup or configuration related code from your actual Selenium test. Okay, and the next question is, what are the locators you are using? So id, XPath, CSS selector are the most commonly used locators. Some of the other locators are name, class name, tag name and link text. Okay, so next question is, why do you choose id, or what scenarios you go for XPath or CSS selector? So id, as you know, is unique, it won't change. So whenever ids are available, we can go for id. So if ids are not available, I'll go for CSS selector. And when the DOM structure is simple, okay, we can go for CSS selector, meaning name or any many attributes will be present in your HTML tree. Okay, at that time you can go for CSS selector, because CSS selector is faster than XPath. So when will we go for XPath? When we need to traverse between our document object model or HTML tree, we can go for XPath. Or also for handling dynamic web elements, we can go for writing XPath. So we will go for id when the elements are unique. Okay, we will go for XPath when we need to traverse up and down between your document object model and for handling dynamic web elements, and we will go for CSS selector when the DOM structure is simple or have many attributes. So the next question is, create XPath for the following. Okay, in most of the interviews, the interviewer gives you a website and asks to create XPath for multiple web elements, because as you know, an automation engineer creates a lot of XPath, or it can be CSS selector, anything, but we create a lot of these items, right? So please do practice creating XPath before attending interviews. So in this case, I have identified this web element using contains attribute, and by using a normal XPath syntax, tag name attribute equal to value. But we have to practice XPath creation using preceding sibling parent child access as well. This is very important in automation interviews. Okay. Next question is, how do you handle exceptions? So we can make use of try except block and handle exception in PyTest framework. Okay. Next question is, how do you implement page object model in automation? So for each web page in the application, we maintain corresponding object classes. Also, we have all the reusable methods inside those classes. Okay, we separate tests and we separate objects in pages folder. We have all the page objects under pages folder and tests under selenium test folders. So in this way we achieve page object model in our framework. Okay, so let's see the next question now. You expect specific exception during automation, and how will you handle this case using PyTest framework, okay, or Python automation? So while running a selenium test, we are already expecting an exception to occur when the particular test case is running. So how can we handle that is, we can make use of pytest.rises. Okay, so to verify that a particular exception has occurred while running that particular Selenium test. If you remember, in Selenium test ng we have expected exception annotation. We will define it near attest annotation, right? Here it is pytest.rises. Okay, this helps ensure the application behaves correctly during error conditions. Okay. Next question is, what is the use of conftest.py file? So conftest.py file is used to share fixtures, okay, common fixtures across multiple tests. So if you have like setup and tear down methods, these are our common code for all your test cases, right? We can define it inside the conftest.py file. So it is a global configuration file. Okay, this is an important interview question asked in many interviews. How do you generate test reports in your PyTest automation framework? So I am using Allure reporting. Okay, I have integrated Allure libraries and I am generating test reports in Allure. So if you are generating reports in any other inbuilt libraries, or maybe it can be extended reports, you can talk about it. Okay. How do you capture a screenshot on test failure automatically? So we can make use of PyTest run test make report to detect if your test has failed. Okay, if the test is failing, we can capture a screenshot in this case. Okay, it's a built-in PyTest hook that runs after every Selenium test. So whenever you are executing your Selenium test, this PyTest run test make report will run. Okay. So how do you handle parameterization in your Python test? Okay, we can use marker pytest.mark.parameterize to parameterize multiple test data in our automation framework. Okay, so you can answer like, we are using pytest.mark.parameterize marker to run the same test with multiple sets of input data. Okay. So let's see the next question. Okay, now how do you manage browser drivers in your framework? So I have a configured WebDriver manager libraries in my automation framework. Okay, so using WebDriver manager, it helps us automatically downloads and set up all the corresponding browser driver versions. So we don't have to manage anything manually now. Okay, so let's see the next question. Why did you choose Python for automation when Java was also available? This is a tricky one, right? So in many interviews, they are asking this question, okay? Because Selenium Java is more stable and already many projects are using, why are you migrating to Java? Python. Okay, so first thing, if it is a business requirement, like your client is asking to automate using Selenium Python, you can expect that. Also, you can mention like, in Python, we are having simpler syntax than Java, and it's easier for writing and maintaining test scripts. As you know, Python has more inbuilt libraries, and the syntax is very much simpler compared to Java. Okay, and also Python integrates well with framework like PyTest, and it supports data driven testing. Okay, also it has rich libraries for API testing, test reporting, CI/CD, and AI tools integration. So these are the major advantages of Python. That's why we move to Python from Java. So how do you achieve parallel test execution using PyTest? Okay, or this question can be asked like, how do you speed up PyTest test execution? So we can achieve parallel test execution by integrating PyTest XDS plugin inside our automation framework. Okay, so and in the runtime we have to provide a command like pytest -n and the number of parallel execution time your test case has to execute. Okay, in this case I have provided 4, meaning 4 parallel threads will be running. Okay, so the answer here is PyTest XTest. Using PyTest XTest plugin, we can run parallel tests. Okay. And how do you implement custom login in Python automation? So we can implement using Python's built-in logging module. So we need to take logs, like after every test execution we have to verify the logs as well, right? In PyTest framework we can basically use Python's built-in login module. Okay. So what are the common exceptions you see during automation? No such element exception, timeout exception, sale element reference exception, element not interactable exception. So these are some common exceptions we see during automation. How do you manage test data for different environments like QA and production? So as you know, we automate in QA environment as well as production environment. So how do you maintain those test data or URLs? So we can use environment specific config files in our automation framework and pass the environment if it is QA, and pass the QA value in your command line argument during your test execution, like PyTest environment equal to QA. This will run only QA specific test. If you want to run prod, in the command line provide pytest hyphen environment equal to prod. In this way we can execute only prod specific test cases. Okay. Also inside your config.json file you have to specify all the QA environment URL, credentials, etc. Okay. So this is how we can manage test data for different environments and run different environment specific tests in our PyTest framework. Okay. How do you address synchronization issues? This is an important question. As you know, we can handle synchronization issues using waits. Okay. Explicit wait is more preferred. Okay. So explicit wait ensures Selenium wait for particular elements to load or to become clickable before interacting with that particular web element. Okay. So next question is, how do you handle dynamic web elements? We can handle dynamic web elements through XPath functions like contains and starts with, along with a mix of explicit wait, just to make sure the element is visible or clickable before interacting with it. Okay. Next question is, can you explain a real-time issue you have faced in Selenium or Python automation framework and how did you solve it? Or this can be called ask like, what are the challenges you have faced during automation? Okay. So elements might change frequently in your application. That is one challenge I have faced. Okay. Sometimes developers might change the web elements, because of which my XPath or locators keep on failing. That is one challenge I have faced, and text execution was slow due to sequential runs. Okay. So in this time parallel execution helped us. So we integrated PyTest exist library inside our framework and we split the test into different parallel threads. Okay. Some tests were failed because of proper synchronization is not working. Okay. Because synchronization between my Selenium script and the UI was not working, so we handled it by using waits. Okay, these are some challenges we have faced during our career and this is how we solved. Okay, this is also an important interview question. So let's see the next question. How do you test broken links in a web page? So to handle broken links, first we need to get all the tag names, which is links tag names, which is tag name A. Okay, and then send a HTTP request to each link and check the response status. If the response code is 400, then the link is considered to be a broken. Okay, 400 or greater than it, the link is considered to be a broken link, else it is fine. Also, this program is being asked to be written in many interviews, so please do practice writing this program as well, handling broken links test. Okay. And how do you run tests in headless mode? To run Selenium tests in headless mode, we can set Chrome options. So this is similar to how our tests are running in Selenium Java, the data driven framework as well. Okay. So we just have to pass the headless argument inside the Chrome options. Next question is, how do you switch to the third window from multiple windows open during automation? So using window handles, we can handle this case. So in Selenium Python, when multiple windows or tabs are opened, how do we handle this? First, we have to switch to that particular window, driver.switch to window. Okay. In this case, we have to switch to the third window, right? Okay. You can pass the index value here. Okay. Using driver.window handles, pass the index value as 3 and you can switch to the corresponding third window. Okay. Next question is difference between list, tuples and dictionary. So this is like out of 5 interviews, in 4 interviews they are asking this question. Okay. Please to prepare this question. A list is an ordered and tuple is an ordered but immutable. Okay, list is ordered and mutable, but tuple is an ordered but immutable. And dictionary is useful for helping key value pairs. Also write these program syntaxes, this tuple and dictionary. Okay. What is the use of self in Python? So self represents the instance of a class. Okay, in Python, self is used to represent an instance of a class. It is used to access variables and methods of the current object within the class. Okay, it is an instance of a class and it represents access, or it is used to access variables and methods of the current object. Okay, this is the purpose of self in Python. Let's see the next question. What is Python's args and kwargs and how do you use them? So args allow a function to accept multiple positional arguments as a tuple, whereas kwargs allow a function to accept multiple or any number of keyword arguments as a dictionary. Okay, so these both are used to write flexible functions that accept varying number of inputs in Selenium Python automation. Okay, this is the difference between both. And next question is, what is the use of yield keyword in PyTest? So you might have seen yield keyword in multiple places, right? For example, in our framework, we might have seen in Fixtures. So the code before yield runs before your test, that is setup code, and the code after yield runs after the set test. Okay, that is tear down method. Okay, yield allows both setup and tear down code to run within your same fixture. Okay, the next question is, how do you skip a test in PyTest? So we can skip test using PyTest.skip annotation. Okay, during runtime. Also we can use marker PyTest.mark.skip to skip test before running that particular test. These are the two ways to skip test in PyTest. Okay, and we have come to the end of today's video. You have just completed watching 30 important real-time scenario based interview questions asked in Selenium Python automation interviews. Okay, as I said, these are combined from 20 to 25 real interviews my candidates have attended. Okay, definitely you will get this question in one or other interviews. So please do practice these questions before going for interviews, and please do subscribe my channel Ajay Automates for more automation training related videos. And if you are looking for automation training in Selenium Java or Selenium Python or Playwright training, please do reach us in this mobile number. You can either call us or text us. Okay, thanks for watching patiently. Have a good day. Bye.